Look what you made me do. Look what I made for you.
His name is
Old Man Wade. I live by the funk. I die by the funk. Old Man Wade. Old Man.
I'm about to do something terrible.
Old Man Wade. Old Man. Old Man.
Nope, not doing this. We're not doing this.
Ha ha. Point. Old Man. Old Man. Old Man. Old Man.
Welcome to the Old Man Wade Show. I am your host, the God of Stubborn, the Lord of Laughter, Old Man Wade, and this is the Old Man Wade Show. Now, here's a fun fact for you. In the NBA, actually in sports in general, you're going to get into heated debates. Normally, it's with the other team. We've got the Malice in the Palace. Rudy Tomjanovich got punched in the face by somebody. I can't remember the person's name, and I'm not going to Google it, so look it up. And we also have Chris Childs slapping the dog poop out of Kobe Bryant. But this is none of that. What we have here is Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson, teammates, which makes this even funnier. Apparently, during a timeout in the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, a timeout was called, and apparently Kyle Anderson called Rudy Gobert the B word. The only reason I'm saying the B word is because it's within the first 5 minutes, and I can't swear because that's how YouTube and other podcasts go, but he called him the B word, and it refers to a female dog. Rudy Gobert didn't take kindly to that and took a punch at Kyle Anderson. And if you know Rudy Gobert, he's a 7-footer, and it connected. Here's the funny thing about that. Normally in a situation like that, there's teammates on both ends who are like, hey, break it up. That wasn't the case here. What we got was everybody holding Kyle Anderson back and everyone else looking at Rudy Gobert going, what the F are you doing, dog? Actually, they weren't even going, what the F are you doing? It was more like, hey, Rudy Gobert, step the F back. We don't like you. Which isn't shocking. There was a situation a couple of years ago in 2020 when COVID was I wouldn't say at its peak, but it was beginning to get at its peak when Rudy Gobert was just touching stuff and didn't think COVID was a real deal and just acting like a foolish child. And this isn't shocking because Rudy Gobert has been known to do this stuff. So I'm not shocked. Let me just say this. This is the type of stuff that Rudy Gobert is known for. He's known to not necessarily be the greatest of people and player. And I've said it on Twitter. Rudy Gobert is overpaid, underskilled Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler can do everything that Rudy Gobert can do and more. The problem is Tyson Chandler was born in the wrong era because if he was born in this era, he'd have dominated. But he wasn't, and here we are. You know what? For the fact of the matter is, JaVale McGee was actually born in the wrong era because everything that Rudy Gobert is doing, both Tyson Chandler and JaVale McGee do better. Now, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, the argument started where Kyle Anderson told Rudy Gobert to shut the F up in a disagreement and told him to block a shot, and Gobert telling Kyle Anderson to rebound the ball. And that's how the altercation started, and it ended up with Kyle Anderson calling Rudy Gobert the B word, and that's how it goes. Let me tell you, as someone who's played in multiple, I'm not even going to say that I played professional, because that's not even close. I played intramurals, I played some high school basketball, played a lot of street ball. And let me tell you this. If someone was to call me the B word, depending on who it was, I may have been like, who the F are you talking to like that? Or either, actually, no, regardless of who it was, it would have been like, who are you talking to like that? If it had been a real street dude, let me be honest. I might have, doubted back a little bit and been like, yeah, whatever, and kind of let it go. Regardless of who said to me, I wouldn't have thrown a punch, especially not in a professional game where it's bad enough you're fighting for, playoff position and how you're going to go forward in the playoffs. It was a stupid move by Rudy Gobert. And he's making a ton of money. So even if he comes up this offseason and goes, oh, I don't want to play with the Minnesota Timberwolves anymore. Guess what? You make way too much money. Nobody wants you. You've proven to be problematic. You've proven that you have zero offensive game with the hook shot and the layup that you airballed recently this season, nobody wants you. So it's unfortunate for Rudy Gobert. It's unfortunate for his situation. But who knows? Maybe things change and things different in the playoffs, and he becomes a different person. He becomes a different player. We don't know. But as of now, this was a definite bad look for Rudy Gobert, who is a former Defensive Player of the Year. He is a former All-Star. It's a bad look. Regardless of what his status is, it's a really bad look. Now, the one disadvantage of recording something on a Sunday is I miss most of the news that goes on during the week. One of the big news things that happened was LSU's basketball champion women winning the NCAA world title. And that gets lost in the Angel Reese pointing to her ring finger and doing the John Cena / Tony Ayo waving of the hands in front of your face. And let's be honest, we know what it is. This is just another way for everyone to be distracted by what really happened. We should be celebrating LSU winning the NCAA women's title. But it's not just a black thing. And it is. It's a black. Let me just start off with this. It's a black versus white thing. It's a way for the people in the media to segregate us as people. It's black versus white. It's dark versus light. This is what they do. This isn't just about black versus white. This is women coming up and the machine and, white men, I hate to say it like this, being upset that women had the higher rating when it comes to the national basketball in college. But it is what it is. We know how things go. And here's the funny thing about all that. Caitlin Clark, who played in Iowa, has been like, you know what? It happened. Trash talking is part of the game of basketball. And she's cool with it because she talked a gang of shit throughout the NCAA playoffs. But that's what you do when you play sports. And not just professional sport, not just collegiate sport, but sports in general. You talk a gang of shit. When I played basketball, I would do the Antoine Walker wiggle. I would holler. I would just do all sorts of stuff when I got a big play. Also, I wasn't really that big of a scorer or things like that. But when I did something huge, I would talk a gang of shit. But anybody who's played any sport, professional or otherwise, you know what it is. But the problem is we have the media, and I'll get into a conspiracy theory on another podcast, but this is what they do. Instead of actually focusing on the fact that this was great for women's basketball, they decided to focus on one thing. And if you check out who's actually focusing on what's going on, you'll notice that it's a right wing and left wing thing. And you know what? I'm not much better. So it is what it is, but I had to make sure that I talked about it because it is a hot topic. It is something that needs to be focused on, but what can you do? Now, you may have noticed that my words are a little slurred. It's a Sunday night. It's my night off. It's the first night off I've had in a little bit, so I decided that I'm going to drink, but I also need to record an episode, so this is what I'm doing. So, initially I started a list of people who are pieces of shit. And the reason I did this is because I was on the bus one day, and normally I work overnights. And it's completely different when you have to go to work during the day, and you're like, oh my God, this is just awful. And I forgot how bad it was when it's just all this stuff going on, as opposed to when you're working overnight. It's late, it is what it is. It is a different kind of annoyance and crazy on the overnight. But because you're leaving at a specific time, when most people are either in bed or just not available, it's less than what it is. So I compiled a list of things that are annoyances. But I also had some friends and family members who added on to that. So let me start off. Number one, and this is no specific order, people in power who act tough because they were bullied, never got any play, or are just assholes. Let me tell you what's going on here. We have a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody who's listening to this have had people who just have little dick energy. That's what it is. Little dick energy. You've never got any play. You've never been the man. You've just been second tier or third tier for that matter. You drive a giant truck because it compensates for your little dick, and you just who you are. Now, if this isn't necessarily specific to gender, Because little dick energy doesn't necessarily mean man or woman. You are just an insecure person who decided that you were going to take out all of your frustration and anger and insecurity and all that other stuff out on someone else because, you decide you can't do what you want to do or what the job description is. Now, let me be clear. I'm not an angry person by nature anymore. I've given that up for years now. But I'm also a person who understands that sometimes they can get angry. And so what I do is I just walk away. Because honestly, it isn't worth my job. It isn't worth my marriage. It isn't worth my friendships. And sometimes I make mistakes and sometimes I have to apologize for my nonsense or just stupid reactions to that. Shout out to Jess Gregg, one of my closest friends, for forgiving me for being an asshole in certain situations. And projecting more than I needed to be, excuse me. But that's just how it is. And we all work with those people who was just like, how are you in charge? How do you even have a job? How do you exist as a person? But sometimes we have to look at it and go, you know what? It's just who you are, and you just don't understand the concept that maybe it's time to evolve, and maybe it's time to accept the fact that maybe, just maybe, you need to stop projecting and look inward. What's going on with you that makes you feel that you need to put everyone else down because you're horrible? Actually, misguided attitudes, it kind of plays into number one. And then we have people cutting off an ambulance with their sirens and their lights blaring. You are a whole piece of shit. And I'm not going to use choice words because honestly, I'm trying to stop using certain words that I should never use ever again. Not the F word, but the C word. I'm trying to stop using it. But if you know me, I use it fairly often. If you are cutting off an ambulance, you are just one of the worst people known to man. A listener and brother of mine, Fletchmo, said it best from something our mom told us. You have to look at an ambulance as you don't know who's in there right now. It could be someone you love. It could be someone you care about. Or regardless of that, it's someone else cares about. So when you see those lights blaring and the ambulance going by, you need to move the F out of the way. Plain and simple. People who play their music on speaker or on public transportations, you suck. You absolutely suck. Hey, does it stink that you can't listen to your music on your headphones? I've been there. I've legitimately left my headphones at home, walked out, and been like, oh, God damn it. And I'm like, all right, well, looks like I'm not listening to whatever podcast or music that I normally listen to, probably Lupe Fiasco or MF Doom. And I'm like, I can't listen to it. But you know what you do? You kind of deal with it. You find something else to do. I normally read or play Angry Birds. But what we have here are people who are just like, you know what? I'm going to just make everyone's life uncomfortable because F everybody else, and I just don't care. You're an asshole. There is no other way to say it. You suck. Next up, we have people who say both to questions, both the questions on social media. You're not a piece of shit, but you're like, why even bother? If someone says chocolate or vanilla and you go, why not both? That's not the question. It's one or the other. And I get you're like, oh, well, I like both. Well, that's fine. But, the question is one thing, you don't have to respond to anything. But that also leads to more social media stuff when people see things. It's like, you do not have to respond to everything. Sometimes it's okay to say nothing. Do you know how often I actually go through social media, I see something, I'm like, you know what? It ain't worth it ain't worth the energy. It ain't my problem. Keep it moving. Now, I'm not talking about situations where someone will say something like, oh, well, when they're being derogatory or they're just being a giant piece of shit or just racist or judgmental or prejudiced. I'm not talking about that. But sometimes, for example, the debate on whether or not Iron Man and Batman are superheroes. If you don't have a positive response or something that's just not going to help progress the conversation and you're just going to be negative and just be, just ignorant, don't say anything. It is not that serious. Sometimes it's okay to say nothing. But, people are just going to people. But, what can you do? Finding someone on social media to crap on them without knowing the entire story. Some people do it without even knowing part of what happens. And now, in this situation, you have people who will find an article or find a tweet or find a status or whatever and won't read more than just the first couple of lines or the title or the heading or whatever. We have become a lazy society. Sometimes you need to read more than just what's up front. And when you have situations like that, you miss things when all you see is Batman beats Superman. Why did Batman beat Superman? Are there reasonings behind it? Now, personally, I think that Superman could defeat Batman from space. But however, if someone writes an article and says that there are reasonings behind that, I should do my due diligence and read their explanation before I just go into their comments or find their social media and completely rip them apart. And even if I don't like their explanation for it, I don't necessarily need to tell them how wrong they are. How about this? If you disagree with somebody, how about you, the person reading it, find your own platform and you write your own think piece and you write your own status and then you decide how things would go. But a lot of people won't do that because they don't have the creative gene that goes with it. So instead of actually finding a way to do that creatively, they decide that they're just going to go on and just crap on people. It's not cool. And I know that I've heard people say that social media bullying on social media isn't a thing, yada, yada, yada. It's a thing. Now, for me, it's a little bit of both. And sometimes I need to take a break from social media. And I kind of just check out and I don't read comments and I kind of go on about my life. But some people, social media is the street. Social media is their life. So it's a little more difficult to get away from that. So I'm not going to tell someone they're right or wrong for it, but don't be an asshole. I mentioned Just Greg, but he also brings up one of these. He's one of the people who added to this. People who talk on speakers on their phone. It's equivalent to the same person who listens to music on their speaker. Look, you can put your phone to your ear. No one wants to hear your conversation. And it's even worse when they put it on blast. Now, sometimes, like, let's take me, for example. I talk loud. So whenever I have a conversation with someone, I usually tell people, hey, I'm getting on the bus, so I'm going to get off the phone. Or I'm getting on the train, so I'm getting off the phone because I'm loud. So in situations like that, you have to look at two things. First, how loud are you? Some people don't understand if they're loud. Second, the person you're talking to may be loud. And how high is the volume on your phone? People don't want to hear a conversation. And it's even worse where it's inappropriate conversation. Like, I've been on a bus where someone has dropped the N-bomb a bunch of times and da-da-da-da, and someone has been like, hey, can you please not do that? And if someone will say to the passenger, well, you need to shut the F up. And I have to get up and go, all right, you need to calm the fuck down. No, that's not me acting tough. That's just me sticking up for someone else who's like, yo, if you're on the phone with somebody, you can put the phone on phone, not speaker, and then, carry on with your conversation. But you're also being loud, saying nigga this and nigga that and fuck this and fuck that. Like, yo, calm the fuck down. It's not just you. But it's also the same kind of people who will smoke weed or smoke cigarettes in places where there will be giant signs that say, do not smoke in this area. But they'll still do it anyway. Why? Because, they suck. That's people. What do we have next up? All right. People mad at OnlyFans. All right. So let me just say this. I have purchased a few things on OnlyFans. I subscribe to a bunch of people. Not a bunch of people. I subscribe to a few people. And I unsubscribe, wait till they go back on sale, and I subscribe again. I don't knock the hustle. In 2020, we came through a pandemic, and people needed to find ways to make money. OnlyFans, the company, and the people who, I wouldn't say employed by that, but the independent contractors who make money via OnlyFans are smart as hell. It's funny because we look at OnlyFans, me included, as somewhere where it's a sexual thing. People are naked, people are fucking, people are masturbating and doing all this other stuff. There are a million things you can do on OnlyFans, and it's profitable. But you can't be mad at somebody whose own OnlyFans making money. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Why get mad at the hustle? Like, it's like, yes, can you get whatever you're watching for free? Absolutely. Are there more attractive people than the ones that you're paying for? Absolutely. Like, I have porn stars that I think are more attractive than the $5 that I spend every so often. But like, yeah, but they aren't the ones that I can get for free. So therefore, I will pay the money for it. Now, I'm not spending more than $20 a month, but some people are. But let me tell you, if you got the money, why do you care if someone else is doing it? Let me rephrase that. If someone else is spending the money, it's not you. It's not coming out of your account. So why do you care? There's no different than someone paying on OnlyFans than there is someone spending on Netflix or Hulu or Peacock or whatever the fuck. There's no difference. Let people eat cake, man. All right, I think this is more from Just Greg, but people who cut people off intentionally, people who claim they're not assholes, they're just telling you truth you don't want to hear and turn into the whiny pissant when you tell them something they don't want to hear. Yeah, you get no argument here. I'm an asshole. I know who I am. But this is also a symptom of people who don't want to admit who they are. There are a lot of people, men and women and otherwise, who will say, well, it's not just me, it's not me, it's not me. But at some point, you have to look at yourself and go, maybe it is me. It's just by percentage-wise, if everyone's telling you, no, you know what? Lucky number 11. The rabbi goes, if someone calls you a horse, you call him a jerk. If someone calls you a horse again, you punch him in the face. The third time someone calls you a horse, well, maybe it's time to buy a saddle. At some point, you have to look at yourself and go, hey, how much of this is me? Self-awareness is a really important thing. It's something that I'm still learning. Every day I have to look at myself in the mirror and go, am I as bad as I think I am? Am I as good as I think I am? How much of the stuff that I'm projecting is true? We all need to look at each other and go, where am I at as a person? Who am I as a person? Because sometimes it's not everybody else. Sometimes it's us. It hurts. It sucks. But if you want to grow as a person, you have to look at yourself inward. So I had to pause this one because shout out to my homie Pat, who said, people who ignore social soliciting signs. Walmart tiki torch Nazis that think they're white supremacist apex predators when they look like failed GameStop union rallies. Chairborne Rangers meal team 6 who couldn't run a 5K without suffering cardiac arrest, but post on social media they're ready for civil war. Televangelist Sass. Yeah, you're awful. You suck. Like, we've seen this with the Tiki Torch Nazis and the Tiki Torch assholes and the Tiki Torch C-words. You know, all of that. It's like I don't think there really is more to say about that. You're not the apex predators that you think you are. Get over it. People who stand up when the plane lands. As someone who has a fear of flying, who didn't once have it, I'm not mad at it, but it is kind of funny when you see someone stand, just like, yay, we landed. It's like, oh, yay. Like, do you clap when you get from one stop on the bus to the other? Because I don't know if you know this, bus drivers kind of suck. And lastly, we have people who stand in the middle of the entrance to a store with a cart full reviewing their receipt. People that don't use their blinkers, turn signals, people who slurp their soup over the spoon, and people who eat with their mouths open. I don't know if those people suck, but it's definitely annoying. All right, one of our last things we have is Kanye West, Ye's Donda Academy banned chairs, fed kids only sushi for lunch, lawsuit claims, and this is from NBCLosAngeles.com. The website says the plaintiffs, mother and daughter, Cecilia Haley and Shakira Byers, claim in their lawsuit that they repeatedly tried to, quote, bring attention to the unlawful and unsafe procedures of Dawn Academy before they were fired last month. Rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, didn't allow chairs, crossword puzzles, crossword puzzles or coloring sheets at his private Christian school in Semi Valley, while kids were fed only sushi for lunch every day, according to the lawsuit filed by two former teachers. The lawsuit paints a picture of a school which serves students from kindergarten to 12th grade, run to conform to some particular quirks attributed to Ye. Students, for example, were not allowed to be taught upstairs since Ye reportedly was afraid of stairs. Okay, can we just stop for a second? I get that people have vertigo, and I get that people have like fears and phobias, and apparently that is a fear. It's called bathmophobia, but I highly doubt that Kanye West has a fear of stairs. And now I know he said something about eliminating stairs. I thought he was joking, but as a website goes, the plaintiff's mother and daughter, Cecilia Haley and Chikara Byers, claim in their lawsuit that they repeatedly tried to bring attention to the unlawful and unsafe practices of Dawn Academy before they were fired last month. Haley and Byers, both black women, also claim discrimination based on race and say they were not paid their full wages. Let me just say this. I don't know why anybody would bring their kids to a Kanye West school. That seems like one of the dumbest things I have ever heard in my own damn life. LeBron James opening up a school makes sense. LeBron James has been on record, and not just on record verbally, but has put his money where his mouth is by doing things to make Akron, Ohio a better place. LeBron James has continued to give money to the disenfranchised people. LeBron James has continued to make his friends and family, people closer to him, wealthy. Why has LeBron James done that? Because it appears that LeBron James is a good person. I say appears because I don't know him personally. You get somebody like Jay-Z who has made sure that the people closest to him have continued to make money. At one point in time, Beanie Siegel had talked about Jay-Z and said that all these awful things, but recently has also said that he takes those claims back because he understands business differently and understands that he was wrong in the situation. Kanye West has not proven that he is any of these things. He has continued to be the person that we thought he was. He is a jackass. There is no other way to put it. He sucks. Maybe that should be the name of the episode. They suck. Or he sucks. Or we suck. Who fucking knows? But putting yourself in a situation where you want to send your kid to a Kanye West school just seems like a bad idea, considering the things that he's done just publicly. It would be one thing if there were rumors, but he's consistently been an ass. So this seems like a stupid decision. Now the teachers, I honestly get a teacher who wants to do certain things like that. It's like, all right, well, this is a job. It pays me X amount of money, but according to the report, they're not even getting paid what they're supposed to be getting paid. So this is just an awful, awful thing all around. And I hate to say it, anybody listening to this, you're not shocked. Kanye West is who Kanye West is. He hasn't said anything or shown anything that's proved that he's going to be different. So why is anyone shocked when he does fuck shit? We shouldn't be. That's who he is. And speaking of people who doing fuck shit, we should know by now that Kid Rock is just one of the worst people known to man. When Kid Rock first came out, he was all hip hop and he would do certain things and he was just oh, rap, rap, rap. Then he started making money for country music and he just transitioned to country music. Now, Bud Light, and I want to say it's Amstel or maybe Bush, who has a transgender social media influencer endorsing their brand. Kid Rock decided to take an AR-15 or an automatic weapon because I don't know guns and I hate guns. Let me say it again. I hate guns. Get over it. And he was shooting the Anheuser-Busch or the Bud Light stuff and goes, fuck Bud Light, fuck whoever, and blah, 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 blah. The only reason Kid Rock is doing that is because he's irrelevant. If his music was popular in the black community or LGBTQ plus community, he wouldn't be doing this. It also takes into consideration that we also need to take into consideration that he's just an ignorant asshole who will just do whatever he does for kicks and for clicks. And we should, you know what? I shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm done. Fuck Kid Rock. That's just how it is. Anyway, this has been the Old Man Wade Show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for however you found my stinking ass on here. If you're looking for me on social media, I am Old Man Wade Com on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I will promise to do more on TikTok, even though I kind of slack off of it, but I'm 1,000 years old, so TikTok confuses me. TikTok. I wonder if I can make that an episode title. But anyway, thank you for listening, and as always, be excellent to each other. Peace.
Damn it, Wade!